It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And it's always fun to give back. I'm a Haas alum. Oh, there are a few Haas people here. Great. How many engineers? If you recognize the name, you already got my attention. If you know, I know where the name comes from. So, but anyway, I'm giving it away. How is everyone doing? Great. Low energy, high energy. All right. Keep it very interactive. See, my goal in all this is very simple. We did fundraising process, and every one of the slides that you see here, there's a story behind it. Every one. And I was putting together, probably around 1 a.m. in the morning last night. We were running into some customer issues, and so I said, how do I make it real? How do I make it interactive? So my goal is not to get through all the slides, but my goal is to make it more interactive and have you ask me questions on either during the presentation, on you want more of the story, or at the end, whichever way it is, but make it interactive, okay? So who are we, right? Here's my team's little bit of a background. We are semiconductor guys, system guys background, and a guy who actually was employee number 42 at LinkedIn who reported to one of their founders. And the reason I'm actually starting out with this is many a times when you go present to an investor, they have no clue who you are, and your resume actually helps you get their attention. And this is one of the means. You don't have to actually put words and words and words. It always comes to what are the basics that you want them to focus on. Is this an innovative team? Are you doing any groundbreaking work? Do you have product development experience? Because at the end of the day, you're either creating a service or you're actually creating a product. And do you have operational experience, whatever is relevant to you? In our case, what we do is simple. We are the guys who power the cloud and make it better for all the apps. So if your actually video is buffering, we want to actually make it better because we are going to actually provide a better solution for data movement, data access, data acquisition problem of all the servers that actually sits behind your video serving app or YouTube or whatever it is. So knowing how to manage data was important to us. And finally, anyone who's been in the tech industry, if they actually have a good sales and marketing person from Sun, it always adds to the credibility, right? So anyway, the background is important, and this is who we are. So I'm going to go back to my very early days where we had a pitch, and we thought we are ready to go pitch. And in the process, this is what we learned. So it's not going to be any sequence, but this is going to be a lot of stories. I'm going to rewind the clock back to 2012, and we said, great, we have a pitch now. What do we do, right? So the first and foremost is how do you go approach the investors? Here's a direct quote from Evan Williams, right? Whoever knows Evan Williams or who doesn't know Evan Williams, he's the founder of one of the founders of Twitter. He said when the first company he started was blogger.com, and he had no idea of how to get plugged into the VC network. And if you don't get plugged into the VC network or investment network, think about it. How would you feel if you're an investor sitting with 1,000 emails in your box, and how are you going to respond? That's how much of inbox traffic they get. So you have to be able to actually get warm introductions. Warm introductions always, always, always helps. And before I go further on this is our Bible. This is what I live with on practically every day. If I have a great day, I go read this book. If I have a really bad day, I go read this book. Because what you find here is about some 30+ interviews from real founders who have actually shared their experience. And this quote is actually from this book. Because when Evan Williams, now everybody knows Evan Williams, but when he started blogger.com, he was no one. So he said, if you are not plugged into the investment network, if you are not getting a warm introduction, you are not getting the meeting. So, yeah? Founders at Work. Written by Jessica Livingston. She's one of the YC person. So how do you get the meeting, right? Early on, we decided there's a great secondary network that there is there to actually go access the investors and the VCs. These are, one, the lawyers, which is our lawyers are Oric. Every law firm, if they actually have a startup services department, It's their job to go find out the exciting startup to work with and help with. And every law firm also has some sort of a business development for the startups, and the job of the business development manager is to network with the VCs and put the entrepreneurs who want these warm introductions to the investors and the VCs or high net worth individuals. And it's their job to connect the dots. So lawyers helped. Bankers, pretty much some of my introductions to current investors came through the bankers. And it's usually what I do is I have them make a call, send the email, and also, if it's possible, I have them make a call. So that way I know for sure that I'm actually at least getting the attention of an investor. And advisors. On that note, early on we decided that the more we actually surround ourselves with the people who have seen the movie, which is a startup, running a startup, building a company, it's going to be better for us because we were first-time entrepreneurs. So our advisors include ex-CTO of Synopsys, ex-chief strategy officer of a company called NetApp, and also a couple of other big exit companies. And the other interesting trick, so this is something that you will find when you go read any books or you go to any workshop, right? But the interesting thing that I found was a great place to meet investors is there is practically every night there is a practice your pitch event or practice your elevator pitch event in San Francisco or someplace in the Bay Area. And what they do is these are the organizations, they invite 3 or 4 prospective angels or prospective investors. They have them, and each entrepreneur gets about 10 minutes to pitch before these guys. And they literally score you to say you did well on this, you did well on this, and they. But what's very good about that particular process is that you're now meeting an investor without putting the investor in the spot, which is, think about it, right? If I came and asked you on the street, I need $100, you don't know me. You have no clue if my motives are right or wrong, right? So if you put an investor in a spot, it's one, forcing the decision, and 2, it puts them in an awkward spot, and they don't know anything about you. Most of the first meetings are like that. But on the other hand, if there is an opportunity for an investor to meet you other than the give me the money mode, it's actually better. It actually eases the process. And this one I found to be very useful, not only understanding the language the VC wants to hear. There's a language that goes with it on how you pitch it. You may be telling your story, but at the end of the day, it's a sales process. You're telling, you have a story to sell your product or services to your customer. Same way, there's a sales process here to the investors. And so knowing what gets them going is important. So once you get the meeting, what's the posturing? How many know what posturing is? Basically, you have a goal, but you are not directly telling the goal, right? So this is what we found to be important was this. Every VC has a successful track record, and they consider themselves to be experts in actually building companies and funding companies, right? The posturing that you actually want to do, and you absolutely want to do with whole heart, rather than making it, as a superficial goal, is you're really there to tap the expertise of the VC and get their feedback on what they think your business is. So the goal is not to go ask for money. The introduction never says, here are guys who are looking for money. But the introduction actually says, whoever is making an introduction says, these guys are in the process of building a company, founders. They have excellent track record, and they would like to get feedback from you, given your past experiences. So the behavioral side of it is something very simple. If your job as an investor is put to money in the company, and if you say a great opportunity to put a money in the company, you are not going to be shy. They are not going to be shy at all if they see a great opportunity, right? So the bottom line is, if you go and ask for advice, and they think your idea is the next best thing, they are not going to be shy about asking you, hey, can I actually fund you? Rather than you actually asking them, can you give me money? That's a huge difference. Now they're chasing you. Pretty much all of our introductions went through this way. We wanted to get a feedback. So now you get the introduction, your meeting is scheduled. You have to do your homework before you step into every meeting. So this is our day before, if you want to actually mentally visualize how I would be preparing for the meeting. I would look at who the investor is. I would look at, do they fund early stage companies? Do they fund late stage companies? What does their current investment portfolio look like? Do I have an angle where I can say, hey, I can help your portfolio company A, B, Z way using my product or services? So I need to know the background of who they are funding and what is their investment thesis is. But there's one thing I want to focus on, the lesson that we learned in this. Practically most of the firms would say that they are an early stage funding company. And it's a completely overloaded word. The reason I actually say it's an overloaded word is, yeah, if the lifetime of the company before it goes public or it gets acquired is 10 years, early stage could be defined as first month into existence, second year into existence. So, and they have to say that, they would probably do, if they do 20 deals a year, maybe they do one seed deal. Do you guys know what a seed or Series A and those terms? Okay. They would probably do one seed deal. And 19 is what they do as a real funding, funding of a company. So be aware of that, because we have walked into investors where they predominantly fund only a equity round. And we were looking for convertible note round. I'm assuming what you guys know about what that is as well. So you have a Crunchbase. See, there is no clear-cut way to get the answers. Okay, so you do your best in gathering the information, and Crunchbase is a great means. Looking at and this requires work, guys. I mean, basically, you look at if any one of the companies that they have funded, you happen to have a connection, and you can look it up on LinkedIn. And you can connect to them. I mean, this is not going to happen the day before, but if you know someone in the company, you can go ask them, hey, what is the real deal behind how you guys got funded? And what does the investor typically look for in the first meeting, right? But there's no, it's a lot of hard work, and that's why, if you are funded, there's a reason why you are funded. If it's that easy, everyone's going to get funded, right? I'll come back to this because, see, the thing is, one of the mistakes that we made early on, we saw every company, VC firm, were saying they're in early stage, and we were actually stupid enough to go pitch them, thinking that we will get the money, right? There's a truth to that, and there is also stupidity to that, because, you need to know what their metrics are for funding, which is does this have a great team? Given the current investment climate, do they have something which is not just based on PowerPoint, but is there a product built? If you're building an app, how much app downloads are there? So the definition of early is so gray, and it changes according to snapshot of 6 months. Knowing what is actually the decision factors in getting the next meeting to the VC in a VC and decision criteria, I take the approach of doing my homework, gathering, or some people take the approach of I'll just walk in, shoot open in the sky, and see if I get lucky. So. And on this note, if they are used to doing equity as first round, even if it is seed equity, and if you are asking for note, you are essentially fighting against an internal guidelines they have how to fund. So don't waste your time. If you see indication like this, it's a red flag for you. As much as they are sitting there and going red flag, do I fund or not fund these entrepreneurs? You guys should be constantly thinking, is this person going to fund me or not? You have to be evaluating that. So the next one, I put this together because it helped us tremendously when someone has done the cloud business before, and they have seen the movie way too many times, right? They have seen the movie too, which means that the most important thing of VC funds is if I understand the idea from a technology point at a 10,000 feet level, and if I understand the business, then they get what you're doing, huge benefit. You don't have to go into how to explain what is the value and how big the market is. You have to, because you have to actually show that you have thought through those things, but they have an intuitive understanding of that based on their past. So they will get it, right? But guess what? So I walked into one of the VCs who has pretty much funded, my type of company for the past 10, 12 years, and has had, I thought, $300 million exit is actually a pretty good exit. And yes, he had other billion-dollar exits. So I walk into the meeting all pumped up, all excited, and I go and present. I literally get thrown out because he doesn't believe in that idea anymore, given the current climate of how the world is moving. And this was within the last 5 years. He actually funded a similar company, and he has had, the last 6 years, he had a $300 million exit in the same area, selling the company to Cisco. The company he funded, selling the company to Cisco, right? So interestingly, what you're really looking for is what's the bias. It's actually, they have seen this movie before, they get it. Is it a positive bias or is it actually a negative bias? Are you going to get thrown out or are you going to get the next meeting? Every VC meeting, it's about getting to the next meeting. And you have to have confidence it's going someplace rather than they're burning your time. Watch out, right? You will sit there, you will be educating a lot of new associates in the VC firm and a lot of new VPs. And what they're doing is their job is to know, as much as funding the company, their job is also to know what's out there from the entrepreneurs. So if you get signals that they are using you to learn about what is the current state, get out. Honestly, I walked into a meeting where it was actually embarrassing for me, which was the VC asked me, can you put me in touch with ABC? Right? They are supposed to be the guys at the Rolodex and network. And they are supposed to be the guys who actually take pride in saying that, I actually can help you because I have a customer Rolodex, I have a, prospective advisor Rolodex. And I walk in and he's like, great. He goes, it's a great idea what you guys are working on. It is completely very similar to, the past company of this public company. By the way, can you put me in touch with A, B, C, D, E? Right? I said, you are trying to learn and you are trying to suck my time out of it. And you don't even actually are doing a good job of hiding your, how you want to get your information. So watch out, right? But really, if they don't understand it, if they don't get it, they're not going to fund it. So at least make sure that they understand what you see and then decide if it's a positive bias or negative bias. You're going to be meeting a lot of pretty famous people. Odds are, if you walk up this is the beauty of this process. You would love it. You will have plenty of names to do name dropping. Plenty of names to do name dropping, right? I walked into places where literally I walked into the company that has actually funded Hotmail, funded Siri, and the investor who actually did that. I've ran into guys who actually told me, yeah, Zuckerberg came and pitched to me, but blah, right? And so things like that. But the bottom line is you will have fun to do a lot of name dropping. And when you're I have an engineering background. And when your master's thesis is based on someone's VC's actually technical work when he was doing real technical work, you get inspired, right? It's not natural human tendency. But focus. You're there at the end of the day to build your company. And you're there to look for who's the investment partner. You have an investment partner who is going to help you build a company. It is your idea. It is your product. And you want to build this company. Who's want to join hands? So don't get carried away by, oh, I met this, I met that. It's cool, but it doesn't get you to the ultimate goal. I say this because first 3 months of myself and my co-founder were literally like, wow, this guy likes our idea. Wow, we actually literally based some of our principles based on his theories from blah, blah, blah. We would spend time on that. And then 3 months later, we woke up and I said, we've got 9 more months before we run out of savings. How are we going to actually get to the bottom line, right? So watch out. This is one of the best advice I've got. Investors are great in actually saying no without the words no. I mean, that's their job because they cannot, say no to you. So they will find ways to say no. And even so, your goal when you're pitching is to go get to the next meeting, from one meeting to the next meeting, but eventually get to the money. If you get anything other than money in the bank, the answer is a no. That's a simple, there's a logic going on, decision tree going on. Yeah, feedback's great. Did I get the money? No. So he's still saying no. I don't know why, right? Or he or she is saying no. I don't know why. And it's even worse. And I was very particular in actually using the word bank. I still have 2 emails from ex-CEO of a public company who actually, after my first pitch, said, I'm in. Send me the investment papers, and I'm in for this money. I sent it over on Friday evening, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to send an update to my current investors. I actually have acquired this hotshot person who is also going to be very reputable to actually have it as my investor, right? Monday morning, I get an email. I'm really sorry. My lawyers reviewed your papers, and my lawyer concluded that there was a gray line conflict between the current investment, so I'm going to pull out of this, right? That's one email. The second email is, again, a successful CEO and a founder who actually said, at the end of my meeting, 2 meetings, he said, this is great. I need to ask my wife because it's, it's a personal fund, right? The savings that they're going to actually, I'm going to ask my wife, and I'll get back to you today. But this is great. This is all in the right direction. I said, okay, maybe I get my money. I come back in the afternoon, I get an email. I'm going to invest this much money. I talked to my wife, right? Please send the papers. So I sent the papers and no response back for it. And after that, the email did not come back. So you might get yes, but really, if it's not in the bank, don't get excited. So these days, that's how we go by. Watch out for these things. These 2 happen. So, I mean, one of my close friends now, he said, look, what is this investment process? What is this fundraising process? Is essentially, this is how he described. Look, when you go and pitch, it's the first line of invitation, which is, think about this. You're saying, I have a swimming pool. Do you want to come and take a look at a nice swimming pool I have? And every interested is now curious about how beautiful the swimming pool is. Can they swim in this? But if they are interested, the first action is, yeah, I want to come and look at this, right? The reason I say that is the moment the first guy jumps, everyone wants to jump in it. But until then, it's an invitation party. I'm interested. I'm looking at it. The water is blue. It may be cold. It may be warm. But I'm still standing outside. So the best thing is if you have interested investors, your algorithm in your head should be like, is this guy going to be my lead? Or is this guy going to invest no matter who is actually going to be joining in? And here's the beauty of it. Who is really a lead investor? It's up to you to decide that, right? If 5 guys are actually there, and one of the guys says, okay, 25K, 50K as an angel, a VC says I'm 100K. Oh, guess, I'm going to pick the 100K guy as a lead investor, and I am going to tell the rest of the guys, I have a lead investor. Whoever puts the higher money, or whoever is willing to roll up their sleeves to work, but it is up to you to control that for most part. I'm not saying in every part. So, but saying to the 4 other guys who are standing near the pool and watching that you've got a lead investor, you would actually see this jump. So what we did was we found out that when one of the VCs was interested in putting money to us, we had a strategy. We basically said, it's a bowling pin strategy. You take the first money. Because of that bunch of bowling pin strategy is, the first pin falls out and the rest of the bowling pins actually falls down, which means the first guy puts the money, which means there's a bunch of guys who's going to actually put the money. And we said, I'm not going to go negotiate, or I'm not going to go into a lengthy negotiation process, but my goal is to quickly close the money and have 5 other guys who are looking at it have their money into the bank. That's precisely what we did. So it's super important to have the lead, and it's super important for you to make a decision if you can, to say at the lead. And go ahead.
Do you give like more incentive to the lead investor? Like
No, I'm again saying, right, they don't know they're the lead.
yeah, they know usually, right? I give you 30%. They know that's average 25.
No, I mean, basically the way it happened is, we got an email saying, we got a bunch of interested people. Here's a bunch of interested people. And we needed to go and get this much amount of money. Few $100,000 is what we needed to get initial. And we were, the remaining money, we had interest. If I add up the interest, it was a couple of $100,000. And so basically one of the big investors came along and they said, I'm willing to put the remaining couple of $100,000. Immediately, it was a signal for me, okay, we got the lead. He puts the highest money. He gets to set the term. I'll make sure I negotiate the term with this person and convey the rest. Look, the round is ready. And you guys are interested. Here are the papers. Right? That's how we actually closed it.
Right. Earlier, Ken was talking about forcing functions for entrepreneurs. And what you're talking about is creating a forcing function for the
Investors.
Yeah.
Yep.
You put them in a single email, everyone knows.
No. Why are you putting them in a single email? No, you until the money and round is done. Yeah, until the round is done, it's not, nobody sees nobody.
Okay. But you don't give the name each other.
But many times, actually, venture folks will be talking with each other.
That is correct.
Regardless of whether you think
Right.
they are or not.
Right. So this is, whenever Ravi talks, Ravi will probably come and talk here. He's the founder of Alchemist. He has a Ravi Bilani school of thought, and I actually follow that particular thing, which is every investor, when they actually make a decision to invest, it's an independent decision. So the answer for when a VC says or investor says, who else is in the round? There's Ravi. Hi. When a VC asks you who's in the round, your answer is, please make independent evaluation, and we want to respect the privacy of other investors. We are happy to tell you when the round comes together, but right now, it's you who have to make the decision. When you say that, be also aware of the fact that one of my other advisors says, it's like getting up in the morning and having a cup of coffee with your friend. That's how they treat about information. They just loosely actually share the information. They will maintain the confidentiality in terms of getting outside the network, but within the network, they share the information. So be ready to say that, it's their private, independent decision, but be cognizant that they might also share the information. Be ready to say no. This was one of the hardest decisions I did. Way back, I had an investor who was committed to $300,000, ready to go. Terms are set. We were hurting. I'll be honest, we were hurting because we've gone probably close to 1 year without money. Basically pulling our money as in not just sitting in the office, in our home offices or anything, right? I was flying to New York. I was flying to Seattle. I was flying to Dallas. I was flying to Austin to get prospective customers. I was on the road every week once a week, every month. I was on the road. So we were burning a lot of money, and we needed money. But here comes an investor. He said, look, I love what you guys do. And this is what he did. He said, this is the amount of money I'm going to put. If it multiplies, this is the amount of exits you will get. And these are the terms. The terms is, I control every cell of your budget, budget model that you gave. And I'm going to sit on the board and control every bit of decision that goes by. So what are the wrong signals here? He wants complete control. What?
He wants the company.
He doesn't want the company. He wants 30% of the company, but he wants complete control on how decisions are made. And entrepreneurs cannot actually make their own decision, which is a bad, you have to have the flexibility to do that. It's a sign that it's not a quality investor. A quality investor's money goes a long way because you're there to build a company. So we had to say no, pack our bags with this investor, and hope that chips will fall in place in our favor. And quality investors' money pays off in long term. And this is what I learned in this process by discussing with one of my, when we rationalize with the team, which is, what this investor was doing was, I put $300,000, I get you 10 million, 20 million exit. Look, you can make so much money, right? But what are you doing this? Why are you doing this for? You're trying to build a company, you're trying to change the world. In that case, you want to aim for the moon and aim high. Even if you fall short of your goal, you have just come much, 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 much further along from where you started. But if all you have is one goal in the mind, and if that one goal actually fails, you have nowhere to go if all your decisions are pinned to that one goal. Because at any given instant of time, you will have a plan, but until you figure out your product market fit that eventually can make that $1 billion or eventually can make that $100 million company, you are experimenting with things. So you need the flexibility and the control to make the decisions. On that note, right, it's about the, yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned that you were on the road a bunch working on business, and then you had to set aside time to pitch, particularly in the early stages of the company. How are you able to still move the business ahead while spending so much time going out and pitching and getting it?
This is an excellent question, and this goes back to how we viewed the investment funding pitches. Very early on, we said we are building a company. Funding is a means to an end. But there can be other means of actually getting money, customers. And we also looked at what will accelerate an investor's decision. If you have a customer, it is going to accelerate an investor decision. I mean, as much as you have your vision, your goal, and your broad thing, they will buy into that. So, we basically said it is equally important to get customers and market validation, because that's what is really going to add value. I mean, adding value to the company is you build a product and there are people who want to buy your product, right? So we said, let's get that right. If we get that right, investors will come along. So which means versus I've heard about entrepreneurs who set aside 2 months and they just go parking lot to parking lot. We decided not to do that. We actually decided to actually go and get customers and see how things turn out for us. I give that credit to one of my advisors, Dr. Kurt Koitzer at WCS. It's a good tangent because Kurt came on board to help us out, and he said, let's take a sample set. What environment are you living in? Which is, what is the current investor's pulse point to fund? And his words were, if you're a company in late 90s, you are already acquired by now because you have fundamentally a good idea. And if you're a company in 90s, your PowerPoint will get you the money immediately. But we are living in points that, yeah, PowerPoints can get you the money for 1 out of zillion companies, but now the bar has raised where you need to go get customer traction. So understand where you're living. So at that point, we pulled back more on going and pitching, but put all our efforts on getting that lead customer. So this is how I view my journey. You are really here to actually go reach the summit, right? That's your vision. But if you just go and say, I'm going to climb the Mount Everest, I'm going to climb the Mount Everest, I'm going to climb the Mount Everest, but you don't give an investor a tangible plan, then it's not going to go anywhere. But if you just show them that you're going to go to the base camp without showing the Mount Everest, you're going to get sucked into a lot of rat holes, which we actually got sucked into. Very early on in our process was, we got the lead customer, we got the market right. And ours is a horizontal solution. You got market 1, market 2, market 3, market 4. We were pitching about the potential of this product and traction we are getting in market 1. In the process, people bought into it. They gave us a pat on the back. They said, great, you found your first market. But I'm really here to build a $1 billion company. Your first market maybe actually gets you to $80 to $100 million valued company. Where is the rest? And I'm not ready to spend more time with you without you figuring out. So the important part is understanding the person on the other end. What is his motive and what is his goal of actually funding? What size of companies they want to fund? And we were actually questioned like, every meeting 30 minutes will be on the Basecamp plan and the details of the Basecamp market, and it would not go anywhere. And we figured that the point is when we figured, you know what, let's pull back a little bit and ask ourselves, where is that we will be in the case of a company 4 years from now, 5 years from now, the vision-wise, and where is that we want to be in a year? There's a balance in actually pitching these two. And once we fix the pitch to actually in line with this, things got a lot better. They get inspired by the vision, and then the question becomes, so how are you going to get there? I said, well, next 1 year is Basecamp, and after this Camp 1, Camp 2, right? That gives confidence to me. We have thought about the process. This is another one of the, very early on, what we actually observed was, given the bar is very high, and to get money, and at least in our experience, and Slideware cannot just get the money for you, we said, well, if we can go build a product without investors' money, we have already weeded out a bunch of other guys who can only go on for 3 months, whereas we can actually go on without money for 12 months, and we can build a product within the 12-month window. So the idea was, let's plan to stick around longer. Let's plan to build a company. Let's plan to build a product with or without investment, at least the first part of it within the first 12 months. And hopefully survival of the fittest and the strong will survive. That's one of the things that paid out. This strategy paid out for us. I was very meticulous. I actually, before I got onto this, I spent about 6 months with a financial planner to look at all my savings and set aside. One of the VCs told me I was going to set aside 6 months. And he said, no, you got to set aside at least 12 to 18 months initial savings when you want to actually do it right. If not, you are going to be pressured. The discussions with your founder would not be entirely based on how do we go get this market, how do we get the plan, but every 10 minutes, every other meeting, it will be like, I only have this much savings in the bank. We need money, we need money. So this paid out for us.
Question.
Yeah.
Would you get a job or pay you?
People advised us for it. I basically said, look, I did not tell you this. Myself, I call it like we didn't give ourselves 2 Christmas gifts. That's a story by itself, where before we quit in 2012, myself and my co-founder, every Christmas there would be a shutdown. We worked in the same place. Every Christmas there would be a shutdown. And for the 10 days in the shutdown, we actually would come up with a business plan. And we would say, this is the best idea. After 2 times doing 2 Christmases, we figured, well, the problem is not the idea, the problem is not the technology, the problem is we just haven't figured out what balls we have to quit and go build a company and do it right? And that's when we said, well, the 3rd Christmas, we're not going to work on a plan, we're going to work on how to actually make the decision of walking in January and going and quitting our jobs. And yeah.
So you talked about the 12 to 18 months of savings. Did you guys pay each other? Or not pay each other, but did you get a salary?
No. My first salary, we started the company May 2012. My first paycheck was Jan this year. Yep. So when the bar is high and the investors are seeing several pitches a day, how do you rise above the crowd, right? This is where Ravi came along for us. We said it's become a norm in the Valley where entrepreneurs are looking at great startups in an accelerator. We said, okay, we have to get into an accelerator, and that's the first way of filter out the weed, right? Because we are not repeat entrepreneurs. You will hear great stories about people walking in and walking out with a check. That's likely going to happen for repeat entrepreneurs who have had great success stories, right? But we said the first filter is accelerators. If we get into an accelerator, there is proper means for us, and Ravi will talk to you more about it. Second one is we said the vision is important, but customers. Jessica Livingston in YC talks about startups should not talk about marketing. Startups should talk about actually sales metrics as to what real customers you are getting versus what potential customers you might get with this marketing promotion. No. So we actually live and breathe based on that, which is customers. And the third one is we just need to put together an awesome team. So I'm going to go on this and push it more. Okay? This is super important. So come January 2013, I'm not going to name, but you can actually think this is a multi-billion-dollar financial services company. We were excited that we were doing a pilot with them. right? It started over Thanksgiving of 2012, and the pilot ended in January of 2013. And we had an agreement with them that we need a 5-digit purchase order the moment we actually finished the eval, right? We thought we nailed it. We walk in, and they said, well, you guys did a great job. You actually used our data sets to show the value of your product to the problem that we have internally. But to fight the bureaucracy within the company, I need another partner in crime to join my hands with me to go to the management to get you guys the money. The moment we realized it, we were like, oh, shoot. You know, we may not get money here. This was January, February of 2013 we were looking. At that point, we said, either I have to keep flying more to New York to burn the money, or we find someone local within the California. At that point, we literally restart the process of finding the next eval customer. And you know, as a startup, you do need luck as much as hard work that you guys do. You do need to count on your stars, right? So for us, we got the first 5-digit eval last June. We fulfilled the purchase. We basically fulfilled on the promise of proving the value to this new customer by October. By Thanksgiving of last year, we shook hands for a 6-digit purchase order. At that point, I turned to my founder and I said, look, we are here to build a company. We may not get funded because of one simple reason. Now we have a customer who's going to pay us the money, and our first priority is going to be servicing this customer. You know, if the product's not working, if they're actually worried about it, so our energies are going to be predominantly going towards this customer priority. So any free time is where I'm going to fly, or I'm going to walk up to Sand Hill or have a coffee with any investor to go get money. So what's the plan? The assumption we made when the 6-digit purchase order came through was, what's the minimum amount we need to get through the next 1 year? Because at that point, if you have delivered a full product, fulfilled a 6-digit purchase order, built a team around it, we are no more a PowerPoint company. I mean, we are no more a PowerPoint company the moment we got our purchase order. But we are much further along, and we would be able to stand out. And that, again, paid off. You know, and we also got lucky. I mean, I'm not shy about it, which is how many hours. You know, you put your efforts, 18 hours you work or whatnot, but it's a matter of somebody in the other organization or a customer believing in your idea and willing to actually stick their neck out to get the money, the purchase order you want, and they relate to your vision. But you will find those people. But by doing these things, by demonstrating to yourself that you're going to build a company and that's the goal, you're going to eventually attract investors. The calls will start getting inbound once you know that you are actually hitting these things. And that's how you want. You want the investors to keep calling you. So it's a campaign, guys. That's all I can say. You can go look at the numbers. And it's a campaign where there are more no's and hopefully few S's. Not hopefully. Your goal is to make this more. You're going to increase the odds of getting more S's by doing and building the company right. But what's the side effect of getting no, right? Which is you go pitch, you are all excited, you come back and say, no, are we really going to get the money from here? You know, why is that money is not coming through? But if you make it a process and you are very objective about it, as much objective as possible rather than, you know, I'm not getting money from the investor. No, why did it? So literally we have a spreadsheet where we say name of the investor's company, name of the partner within the investor company, what was the comment we think that actually, you know, we need to address why we didn't get. So now I always think of it's a presidential campaign. You know, you've seen enough movies to relate to the presidential campaign. They have to hit numbers. So make it a process, make it an objective process. That's about it. You know, ENIAC rethought the world's digital computer. We think we are rethinking the cloud, and we are hiring. Woohoo!